when you go into business with a friend, sometimes it just ends ugly. Yeah. How do you, like, because if you look at, for example, right now, I am in business with friends. Lampers is a prime example. And yet we're not suffering any kind of, we're only getting closer and more respectful and more appreciative of each other over time instead of the other direction. So I have examples of one sort of path, and then the other. I have my own ideas on how that comes to be, but what are your thoughts?
I think it's like any serious relationship that you're in. I mean, when you're starting a business with a friend, you're almost getting married to them in a way. So you got to treat it like almost like a marriage, which is over communication, ability to challenge each other, ability to talk about everything and not leave the room until it's figured out. Like, it's fucking really hard. And it takes a lot of work. If you think you're just going to because here's the deal. When you first start a business, you're going to be in this honeymoon phase where you're like,
how could it never go wrong?
What could go wrong? Like, it's going, we're going to be in Ferraris on the beach in Hawaii, dude. Like, within the next 10 years, we're going to be millionaires. Come on, high five. Yeah. Woo. Let's fucking go. And then the first problem comes. And then the second problem. It's just like a marriage, right? There's the honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
And then you actually start acting like yourselves around each other. And then you actually have to solve real problems together. And that's kind of the crux of a marriage is if you can't do that, if you can't accept the lows with the highs, your relationship is screwed. And so a partnership is no different. The only real difference is now there's a lot of money involved usually. And that is where the complexities really come in, because people change when there's money involved. And not that there's not money involved in a marriage, but that's a little bit different. But say you're in a startup that's going really well. There's a lot of money involved, potentially millions of dollars, potentially. And that has to be handled with tremendous care, a lot of upfront communication, very clear contracts, very clear ownership, very clear exit strategies. It's almost like you're writing your will up front. Again, there's ways to avoid this. Now, if you talk to a really great business attorney, I know what they'll tell you, but none of us are going to like it. What they will, because they have told me this, what they will tell you is don't get into a partnership.
What's that old saying? Partnerships are the only ships that don't sail.
Yeah. Well, the last one I talked to, and he's pretty high powered. Actually, I was surprised he took my phone call. I was asking him about a business that I was thinking about starting with a partner, and he goes, let me tell you something. He's like, I can sit here and tell you how to write the contract to try to protect yourself. But he's like, I spend 5% of my life writing the contracts, but I spend 95% of my life trying to figure out how to get out of them. He's like, I'll just let you take that for what it is. So that was lesson number one. I saw a very productive and successful and fun partnership go to shit. I'm not going to get into the reasons why, because it's not really my business, because I wasn't in it. But I saw it firsthand.
Yeah.
And it never got resolved, and it was very nasty and bloody and not very toxic.
Right.
So I guess that if I can avoid that, my life would be better. And then the second thing was, there's a balance between blowing a business up and growing intelligently. And it's really hard to know what that line is or what that balance is. We were just talking about this last week, Brian.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when you start, say you have proof of concept, people are buying your product or your service. You're like, whoa, okay, this is sweet. Hell yeah. I'm making some money. I can see that beach in Hawaii. It's right on that Lamborghini, Why don't we just do this faster? let's just let's let's sell all the things. Like
yeah.
And sometimes that works. The tech industry is like that. It's like either 1,000 miles an hour or 0 miles an hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
But and then there's the folks that have a successful concept and then they just kind of smother it with over analysis and they don't ever let it kind of grow because they never take risks. So that's kind of both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
In my opinion, what I witnessed was probably maybe we were trying to do a little bit too much too fast, as opposed to just taking advantage of that there was no one else in the space and we had a lot of time to just kind of do it right. Now, folks, this is my opinion. Okay. So anybody that used to work there that wants to question that, just call my cell phone and we can have that talk. This is just my opinion.
Yeah.
So I'd say like striking that balance of like blow it up or over smother, like what's the right line between those two? And is, it just comes down to what your personal risk, it comes down to managing risk and your desire for that. Like how much can you handle? Because the more you try to blow something up, the more risk you take on and potentially the more people you take on, the more capital you take on. And it just becomes really complicated. But also if you smother it, someone else is going to come in and blow theirs up. So you have to like, the paranoid survives. So what is that? Right. That was lesson number 2. And then lesson number 3 was, we went through an acquisition, and, several years in, where we were purchased, and you have the choice. You can either, be like, screw this. I don't want any part of this, middle fingers out the door, or you can choose to assimilate into the new culture and just accept the fact that you have no control over the situation and, try to make the most of your career at this new company. Right. And I chose the latter. And I was happy that I did that. But I think just people knowing that you do have a choice, but the worst thing you can do is if you're part of an acquisition is to choose the latter, decide to go through with it, but then just be sour about it.
Right.
That won't work. You have to be all in or all out, and it's your choice. It's a free country. But I guess those are the 3 main things. Is I learned a million things at Sitka. Again, is professionally the biggest blessing in my life. And but those are the top 3 things I guess I take with me to other businesses. Is preparing for acquisition, being very careful and thoughtful about managing relationships, especially personal relationships, and then whatever the other one was I saw. So
yeah.